If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description. Welcome to Mindshock True Crime. You are listening to the Maura Murray series. This is part 36, Bill Rausch 2. I am your host, Bruce McGuire.
And Maxwell Powers.
And we will be going over recent developments in the Bill Rausch aspect of this case, his ongoing indictment with several different women who have accused him of various harassment type crimes. And is any of this related to Maura Murray and other strange happenings surrounding Bill Rausch? As always, if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, theories, leave them in the comments section. You could also check us out on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Patreon. So, Maxwell, where are you on Bill Rausch right now? Like, we went in our Bill Rausch episode, part 33, we actually went over some of these testimonies of various different women. We're not talking one account here. We're talking multiple women, 5 or more women who have come forward with allegations against Bill Rausch.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I just remember him from the one of the TV news reports, and he came across like really nice and friendly and innocent. I don't know, yeah, just but I guess that's what everyone says, right? Whenever
Yeah.
whenever someone gets all like in trouble and shit.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, it's pretty bizarre. So, let's look at Renner's updates because James Renner has closely followed this. So on May 17th, 2019, he posted an update on his blog, an update on Bill Rausch's sex abuse charge as it navigates DC courts. Bill Rausch was scheduled to appear in DC Superior Court today at 11 a.m. That hearing has been canceled and a new hearing has been scheduled for July 19th. While that might seem like a long time, all this is progressing as it is designed to. As we saw with the federal grand jury, the process of justice, especially in major crimes, is very slow, and lawyers often delay in hopes of negotiating a better plea deal for their client, too. Rausch recently hired a new lawyer, a woman, to represent him. And it was only last week that they got discovery, and there's a lot there. Among the evidence is a lengthy investigation by Price Waterhouse Coopers, probably the internal investigation at Ray Coop International following the victim's allegations in 2011. Computer evidence that Rausch was monitoring his victims' social media profiles, interviews with multiple witnesses, and the possibility of DNA evidence to be tested at a later date. It's a very solid case. No plea deal has been formally offered. His victims have asked the police to review his actions and whereabouts in relation to the disappearance of Maura Murray. Former girlfriends claim his abusive behavior stretches back to before he met Maura. Wow. We haven't heard that one before. Track team members at UMass suggested the behavior continued with Maura as well. They were actively trying to convince Maura to break up with him. So far, 5 women have come forward with tales of alarming behavior. Rausch is also the subject of at least 3 separate complaints with the Inspector General. Co-workers at Camp Lemonnier in East Africa have claimed that Rausch harassed them and created a toxic work environment and had them transferred after they learned of the allegation against him in DC. So we talked about the Camp Lemonnier issues before. So what do you think all this? What do you think of all this, Maxwell? Is this damning against Bill Rausch, or is this because previously, I mean, Aaron Larkin called James Renner a liar and said there was no grand jury, there's no indictments against Rausch, it's all nonsense, and then Renner just keeps getting proved correct time and time again.
No kidding.
What do you mean, no kidding? You don't remember any of this? We went over this so many times.
I don't remember actually, I don't remember. It's so weird. I don't remember. I just know they had a spat, but like I don't remember the specifics about the Bill Rausch.
I mean, do you think police reports, restraining orders, all that stuff is just a little spat?
I just don't remember that whole thing. I just know they don't like each other and they're suing each other and shit.
Maxwell Army. Well, no,
Wait,
the point.
yeah,
The point is James Renner. James Renner is kind of like John Smith. The more time goes by, all their illogical haters. It seems like they really are told what they said they are told, and they're honestly relaying and reporting this information. And they're also very careful to state when they're just giving an opinion, which I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't really put stock in people's opinions too much, so I kind of just pay attention to what Renner is actually reporting that people have said. And so far, it all checks out every time, just like with John Smith. So, whereas some of these other people, personalities in the case, they're a bit shadier and their stuff doesn't add up and they're proved wrong, whereas James Renner and John Smith don't seem to be. So, that was my only point with that.
okay.
All right, so there actually was more that we need to discuss. I think we briefly mentioned this in one of the earlier episodes, but there's not a lot of info on it. Supposedly, one of Bill Rausch's ex girlfriends had died in a horseback riding accident.
Wow.
I don't know if this was before or after Maura. If it was after Maura, yeah, I think it might have been after Maura. Allegedly, these are rumors. And of course, the Bill Rausch defenders who just defend him and everything. And once again, I'm saying he could be the good guy in all of this. I've said this many times and I'll say it again. He could have been the good guy trying to save Maura, and all of these allegations against him, they might be true, and he was still the good guy in Maura's situation. But some people say there's nothing suspicious about a horseback riding accident. However, if you do kill people, wouldn't you set it up as accidents? So depending,
Yeah,
we don't know if it's true or not. This is a
yeah.
rumor.
If you can't hide the body and you yeah, if you can't hide the body and
Yeah, and
you're
suicide,
around people, yeah.
and then suicide's another one where people have gotten away with murder with that. But there's also another case we didn't talk about. Apparently, Bill Rausch took a girlfriend to the emergency room on Valentine's Day to be treated for an injury. She said that she fell down the stairs. So this was also reported. And I believe this would be a sixth woman. And I believe I don't know if this was officially corroborated. There's more stock to it. I believe it was. Obviously, we don't know. This could have been a real injury. I mean, people get hurt on Valentine's Day as well. That doesn't mean he was abusing her. But we don't know. So that's just another incident. What do you think of that?
That's that's something to look into.
And then we have something else, which is I mean, again, we don't know if it's relevant or not, but Bill Rausch's sister, Heather, had committed suicide and left a note. And originally, this note Renner was not allowed to see it, but eventually he saw it, and Renner confirmed that it had nothing to do with Maura. So, and once again, we have to keep like James Renner, as some of his haters say, if he was really all about sensationalism, he could have made that cryptic. He could have said, "Yeah, I saw the note. There definitely needs to be more investigation. It wasn't clear." But Renner flat out said it had nothing to do with Maura. So again, it's not if all he wants to do is drum up interest in the Maura Murray case and throw shade at Bill Rausch, he wouldn't have been honest about that, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. He would have, yeah, he would have said something.
Well, the other thing to ponder, because there's all this insinuation that Renner just really likes airing dirty laundry and all these things. He could have simply not mentioned the suicide note at all, right? Because after he saw it and it had nothing to do with Maura, he didn't even have to be honest about it or lie about it. He could have simply conveniently not ever mentioned it. Because
Yeah, that's true.
then he could have left it up in the air, but he didn't. So, because originally,
It would have been to his advantage as far as like
yeah, because he could have,
sensationalism and
yeah, exactly. He
promotion.
could have continued insinuating that Heather knew that Billy killed Maura or had something to do with it, and that's why she committed suicide or whatever. But that's just something to think about for the Renner haters who just blindly hate him about everything. So, yeah, just more interesting things to think about. So, here's another theory. So, once again, we've discussed this before. If Maura did have another boyfriend or a new boyfriend, and Billy found out about this boyfriend, and he gets into this jealous rage, calls in favors, calls his West Point professor, and wants to take this boyfriend out, or whatever, wants revenge, who knows? Because if someone at UMass told him that Maura was either cheating on him or had a new boyfriend, possibly. Because if we look back at the call history, he doesn't make that many calls up to February 8th. Then he makes 46 calls on February 8th and then 52 on February 9th. That's pretty insane because usually he averages between 10 to 20 or something like that. So not 2 or 3, but I mean, we're talking he increased his call volume by over 100%. So a lot of people also think he knew that Maura was leaving campus. So if she was going with another boyfriend, because he's calling Kate Markopoulos' dorm room, he's trying to track her down. He basically knows that something is up. So some people have a dark theory that Bill was working with someone, and that someone was involved in Maura's abduction or fate. So here's another thing. What if we've talked about this before? Do you remember the Hadley car accident? So this was the accident on that Saturday night after the party, remember? Where she crashes Fred's Corolla.
Yeah.
So that the circumstances of that crash are also really tricky and they don't make a lot of sense. There's also missing time. Was she going somewhere else? Who was the cadet on scene? I mean, this is just endless. What if Billy's inside source was involved in that accident as well, and that might have went wrong? Or if it's not Billy, someone else could have been trying to abduct her at that accident scene, but if the cadet is the good guy, they couldn't do it because the cadet foiled their plans.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's there and of course Billy gets emergency leave, which doesn't make any sense because he could have put that in earlier. We went over that on our Billy Rausch podcast, or on part 1 of Billy Rausch. So here's the other thing though. His hotel is in North Conway, which is 71 miles from the crash site. Do you find that kind of strange where he doesn't show up and he doesn't stay anywhere near the crash site? It's almost like he knows she's not there and there's nothing to be gained from searching in that immediate area.
Hmm.
So,
So he stayed away for 71 miles.
well, that's where he booked his hotel, 71 miles from the crash site.
Huh.
And then, of course, his only alibi is Bob McDonald, where they're supposedly driving all over New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. You remember all that, right? We went over that on multiple podcasts.
Yeah, I remember that. The
And then he
professor.
doesn't, yeah, and then he just doesn't make any calls at all. He might have so some people think he actually did meet up with Maura. And then something could have happened there. And if he made up, so here's the other thing that doesn't make sense, that the call that was supposedly the Red Cross, what if he made up that it was a whimper? Like, if there's no copy of it, once again, like if he's the bad guy here, we haven't talked too much about if he's the bad guy that harmed Mora because I don't know. He might be the good guy. Like I said, we really don't know. But if he is the bad guy, could he have made up that whimpering phone call to make it sound like, she went into the woods or whatever, or she was still alive at the moment when she wasn't? Huh, we really don't know. So the other thing that we haven't mentioned before is that there's so many rumors out there, but apparently there are locals who also believed that Billy Rausch was responsible for whatever happened to Maura. And then of course Cecil Smith made the comments, all those negative comments about Bill Rausch. Yeah, people online have actually said that they met with people from the local area who actually said that there was a consensus among locals that Bill Rausch was responsible for what happened to Maura Murray. Once again, online rumors, we can't put too much stock in them, but do you believe that's interesting or what?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because he deleted the voicemail of Maura whimpering. I mean, we've covered this ad nauseum, but yeah, that's kind of bizarre, unless he made a copy of it first. But if he made up that, we didn't really consider that. What if he's lying about the whimpering phone call, and there really never was a whimpering phone call from Maura?
Yeah.
The other thing that's kind of weird, though, Kate Markopoulos obviously isn't talking, but it would be interesting to hear what she has to say about her phone calls with Bill Rausch, or Bill Rausch in general. Like, what does she have to say about Bill Rausch?
Wait, who are you talking about? My mom?
Kate Markopoulos.
Oh, Kate Markopoulos. Wait, mm, who is that? The friend? That's the friend, right?
Yeah, at UMass. Yeah, there was Kate and Sarah. Both of them were present at the dorm room party on Saturday night. And Erin seems to really not answer these questions. I mean, people ask these questions and she just says things like, Erin seems to never respond to any questions about Kate, just saying that she deserves her privacy or whatever. But even knowing what Kate Markopoulos thinks about Billy Rausch, don't you think that's helpful to the investigation? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's helpful. Uh, Did she reveal anything?
No, she ignores on social media. She pretty much ignores anything pointed at Kate.
No, what I mean is, Kate. Does Kate reveal anything?
What?
Does Kate reveal anything?
Well, Kate's not talking anymore, so no.
She won't talk to anyone.
No, Maxwell, are you? We're on episode 36.
So she still won't talk to anyone? Because I remember she was the one that slammed the door on Renner, right?
That was actually Sarah Alfieri. That was the other friend. Yeah, no, Maxwell, this has been a running theme. None of them are talking. This has been a running, and they didn't go up to New Hampshire.
They probably don't know shit. I don't know.
Well, how would you know that?
I don't, but I'm just guessing.
But in every other missing person case, the people close to the missing person are always talking. Even if they don't know anything. Usually the less they know, the more they talk and the more they try to help. You're not new to true crime. I mean, come on. The other thing that's kind of weird is depending on which sources you look at, originally that Red Cross call supposedly happened Tuesday early 5 a.m. Then it changed to Wednesday 5 a.m. And then, of course, there's different versions of the story. One where he answers the phone and it's whimpering, and then that his phone is off when he's going through airport security and it was a voicemail. So it's kind of weird. There's all these consistently changing stories. The only thing consistent is the inconsistency. The other thing that we touched upon before is the Scott Peterson comment. So on February 11th, the police, as far as anyone knew, she was just a missing person who walked away. It was a DUI walk away. So why were they in? It seems like if we believe Sharon Rausch and Billy, they treated him as a suspect even though he was in Oklahoma. So if they really believed it was a DUI walkaway, why were they treating him like a suspect? And why did he say he felt like Scott Peterson? Is that a Freudian slip? Any thoughts, Maxwell?
If that was a Freudian slip, what did she say again?
Well, you just did it again. We're talking about Bill Rausch, and you called him a she.
I thought we were talking about some girls.
Scott Peterson, who is also another
Scott Peterson.
that both Scott Peterson and Bill Rausch are both males.
Okay, so wait. Okay.
So he made a comment about Scott that he feels like Scott Peterson, the guy that allegedly killed his wife. You don't remember the Scott Peterson case? It was one of the biggest cases in the country at the time.
Nah, no, I don't. Scott Peterson killed his wife. Hmm. Oh, so wait. So Bill Rausch said, "I feel like Scott Peterson, who killed his wife, or Scott Peterson is the person who killed his wife, and he's referring to it, and you're saying that it's
Yeah,
a Freudian slip.
His wife.
It's a Freudian slip that he's like he's pleading guilty and shit.
And depending how far you want to take it, his wife Lacey Peterson was actually pregnant when he killed her.
Oh shit!
So
That's fucked up.
some people believe Maura was pregnant. That's one of the theories.
I like that theory. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's not cool. It's just like kind of interesting.
The other thing that's interesting that I don't know if a lot of people notice this, but there does seem to be an extensive amount of shilling on Bill Rausch's behalf, which is kind of strange because normally online, anybody even accused of any kind of harassment or misconduct, I mean, they're immediately viewed as guilty. And I mean, that's the current online sentiment. There's a lot of hate thrown at the people even accused, where there's smoke, there's fire, all that reasoning, which it's not necessarily to just assume innocence. It's either neutral or believe the victims. But there seems to be a strange amount of people online shilling for Bill Rausch and trying to shut down any kind of conversation that he might have killed Maura. Once again, he might be the good guy. All I know for sure is that none of this stuff adds up. So he seems to have known something strange was going on, and he was either trying to help her or he was involved in someone trying to hurt her or other scenarios. But It's not quite as it appears on the surface. So the other thing that if they did get into a fight and she spoke to him from her father's phone early on Sunday morning and she broke up with him at that moment, we went over that before. If she broke up with him at that moment, he just kind of spiraled out of control and it looks bad because if she goes missing or is killed by a serial killer right when they had a fight, obviously he looks guilty. So that could also occur. That might explain his Scott Peterson comment, but he's innocent and he's the good guy. But who knows? And then, of course, we do have Fred's constant comments about how Bill was like the salt of the earth and he really liked Billy Rausch. So normally the father is the hardest one to fool, right? With his daughter. Like he doesn't think anybody's good enough for his daughter, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, I'm kind of falling into cliches, but or Billy's just that good at manipulating people, both men and women. We really don't know. Or Fred's just a super nice guy who always thinks the best of people. There's a lot of scenarios here. Other people propose some more crazy theories. I think did we mention this in the last one? What if Billy and Kate were an item and they had a plan to get rid of Maura, and that's why none of them are talking. And Sarah Alfieri is either complicit or she was just scared into silence. What do you think of that theory?
That's an interesting one.
I think we went over that before. That's pretty crazy. And then there was the other theory that people kind of downplayed. It was originally reported as fact, but it was apparently just a rumor and then dismissed as if it was misreported. But what if it is true? And that's Kate Markopoulos was involved with a West Point professor. What do you think about that?
Um, that's interesting. But what is Kate being with a professor?
A West Point professor. Bill and Maura went to West Point. Bill is calling Bob McDonald. The McDonalds are showing up and interrogating neighbors over a DUI walkaway. Do you not remember the investigation, the military investigation that just happened to break in the news when Maura is getting the distressed phone call on Thursday night for the Thursday night breakdown? You don't remember any of this, Maxwell? Come on.
I remember that, but I'm just not seeing the connection with Kate going out with a West Point. Like, who gives a shit?
West Point is where Maura and Bill Rausch went. They both attended West Point. Bob McDonald, the professor who Billy is on the phone with while Maura is going missing. He's on the phone with Bob McDonald at 7:30 p.m. from
And
West Point. You don't get it.
I'm just trying to get to Kate. Kate is going out with a West Point professor.
So if that professor knows Bob McDonald or Bill Rausch and there's some plan to get rid of Maura, then Kate Markopoulos is right in the middle of it. How do you know that if Kate Markopoulos is going out with a West Point professor, how do you know that that West Point professor isn't buddy with Bill Rausch and Bob McDonald? They're all from West Point. It's not like she's going out with a professor from like UCLA or something. I mean, are you not? How do you not get this? If she was going out with a professor from UCLA, then it would be unrelated, right? Because UCLA has nothing to do with Bill or McDonald or Maura.
So you're saying like they're looking out for each other?
Oh man, Maxwell.
Yeah, there's like
If there's a plan,
Professor X is going out with Kate
if there's a
Markopoulos and shit.
if there's a plan by Bill Rausch, Bob McDonald to get rid of Maura, how do we know that if Kate Markopoulos is going out with a West Point professor, how do we know that that West Point professor isn't also friends with Bill Rausch and Bob McDonald, and they rope Kate Markopoulos into the whole plan? Are you not? How are you not following this, Maxwell?
I still don't get the benefit of roping in Kate Markopoulos. Actually, I don't even know why. Like, I thought it was just like I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, who gives a shit? So what? See, she's fucking a professor. Who gives a shit? At
It's
West
not
Point,
a.
oh, they will
That's
go to the same fucking school. Who gives a shit?
Well, how do you know? Okay, how if the professor that she's involved with at West Point has nothing to do with Billy or McDonald, then yes, then who cares? But you don't find it coincidental that if the rumor is true, You don't find it man, Maxwell. Oh man, this might be a new low for you. How do you not find it weird that the school that that the Maura Murray came from, where there's allegedly an investigation into abuse, where Billy Rausch also went to, where he's talking to he's buddy with Bob McDonald, who he happens to be on the phone with at the exact moment that Maura is allegedly having her accident. Bill Rausch is calling Kate Markopoulos' dorm room the day Maura goes missing. All of this is going down, and you don't find it coincidental that it might be weird that Kate Markopoulos is going out with a professor at West Point. Out of all the thousands of schools, it's a professor from West Point, and you don't find it weird at all. You're just like, same as UCLA. Oh man, you're kind of weird, Maxwell. You're kind
But
of weird.
that's just a theory, right? I mean, it's
Right,
not
yeah,
like
but
she.
I'm saying if that rumor is true.
Yeah, if that rumor was
If
true,
it's true,
um,
then what?
I I still I don't know. I just don't get the danger. I don't know. It's just like it's just weird. Like I
Hold
don't
on.
know.
Okay. Oh man, I'm gonna try one more time, but then I think you've tested my patience more than any other podcast on this one, Maxwell. If Billy and Bob McDonald, another West Point professor. All right, let me use a more extreme example. What if the rumor?
Maybe you should use an analogy, like
No.
instead
I'll
of.
use a more extreme example. What if Kate Markopoulos was involved with Bob McDonald? What if that's the professor she was involved with? Billy's buddy.
Yeah, so what?
All right, I think I have to throw in the towel on this one, Maxwell. I gotta
Yeah,
throw
but
the
so what? He's fucking her for some reason. Um, and I don't know. So what? He's fucking her. Who gives a shit?
All right, okay. Just for kicks, I'll go even more extreme. What if Kate Markopoulos is involved with Billy Rausch? Do you not see any possible connection there? Do you think that's also irrelevant, Maxwell? What if Kate Markopoulos is involved with Billy Rausch? You don't think that's strange? You don't think that might have anything to do with Maura going missing?
Oh,
Max,
it doesn't do anything to like. It doesn't give motive for Billy Rausch to get rid of Mora.
what are you talking? Have you never seen any true crime triangles at all? I mean, are you new to the genre? Like, what's going on? Of course. How
I wouldn't get rid of another
is
girl. Like if there's another girl.
how is there no motive? If Billy's gonna engage to be engaged with Maura, and he's also seeing Kate. Are you like, man, Maxwell? Like, oh
That's
man.
cool. Two girls at a time. It's cool.
You don't see the motive. You don't see any motive for, especially if let's say Kate lied about Maura and is saying that Maura's, or maybe even telling the truth. Maura has a new boyfriend. Billy's gonna get mad now. There's motive all across the board. Man, people are gonna think this is like your first true crime podcast, Maxwell.
I mean, I don't know. For some reason, it's not clicking. I mean, I could see possibly like if there's another dude like Mora seeing.
All right, we got to move on because I don't think my brain can handle this. All right. Some people also think that Bill was cheating on Maura with Kate. Maura found out. Now Maura really wants to get out of there, and it's all a big mess. And yeah, maybe Kate. And so once again, we have the Butson sighting where some people think that was Maura with Kate and Sarah, or it could have been someone else. So also some people think that Kate might have been complicit in helping Billy if Billy was responsible for whatever happened to Maura. And yeah, and people point to Kate's silence as very, very strange. So, once again, another theory, if both Kate and Sarah turned on Maura and Maura didn't feel safe or had a fight with them, would she want to stay at the dorm room or would she prefer to try to go to her dad's hotel? So, yeah, she might have just not have felt safe because of whatever was going on. And who are the guys at the party? Because once again, if these were Kate or Sarah's cousin at the party, they're going to side with Kate and Sarah against Maura. So we don't know what was going on, but you know, I don't know. Maxwell sometimes pretends he's new to true crime, but there's unfortunately endless cases of friendships gone bad where friends kill other friends over jealousy or whatever. It's very sad, but it happens. And is that why Kate and Sarah never even went up to look for Maura? Because Maura's high school friends did take time off to search for Maura. So let's look at Renner's book for a moment. I found a list of Maura's UMass teammates online, and the first person who replied to my messages was a woman named Nastran Shams. That's pronounced Nastran in English. By the way, she goes by Nast. Nast majored in psychology and microbiology at UMass and was also a multi-eventer for the track team. Maura was shy but extremely ambitious, Nast told me one night over the phone. She was just wonderful. Everyone who knew her loved her. Maura's reputation preceded her literally. Nast heard rumors about this big deal runner chick who was transferring from West Point, and she was gorgeous to boot. But when Maura finally arrived, she carried no ego. Nast did the introductions and invited her to a party. Soon, Maura was friends with everyone on the team and particularly close with Kate Markopoulos. At the time, the young women on the track team liked to crash at a beat up apartment off campus where they would drink and not worry about getting caught. Once again, is that where the dorm room party was? Because there was conflicting reports about where that even was on Saturday night. When you're a member of a collegiate track team, especially at a number one party school like the zoo, you become extremely close to your teammates. You eat with them, you condition with them every day. You hang out with them after practice. As Nast explained, sports in college is a kind of cult. Maura introduced her new friends to her beau, Billy Rausch. They hated him from the start and plotted ways to break them up, especially when Maura told them he cheated on her. Let's just say we weren't the biggest fans of that dude. Of course, it wasn't difficult to find men interested in hooking up with Maura. A bunch of guys had crushes on her, said Nast. She was an incredible runner, she was in incredible shape, she was extremely kind, and she was willing to go out and have a little fun. But Maura's demeanor suddenly changed the winter before she disappeared. I was told she'd been injured, Nast said. Then I was told she was sick. We were gearing up for spring track and she wasn't there. This was going into our senior year. After Maura went missing, nobody told the track team for a while. Nast heard a rumor that something bad had happened but didn't know what. Kate had vanished too. She'd stopped coming to practice. About a week later, they were told that Maura had disappeared in New Hampshire. Investigators showed up at practice. Don't mind them, the coach said. Just answer their questions truthfully. We didn't see Kate at all, said Nast. I don't know if she took a leave of absence or what, but Kate really closed up after that. She disappeared for a while. When she came back, she'd lost all this weight. She'd kicked butt. She must have taken it out on the track. Kate never talked about Maura again. So this is kind of weird because if Kate was involved, that would explain why narrative steerers would want to push the narrative that Maura and Kate weren't even close and barely acquaintances, because we've seen a lot of that online about people trying to say that her and Kate weren't even close, but multiple sources have confirmed that Maura was the closest with Kate, not necessarily Sarah or others, but Kate. So Kate Markopoulos also called James Renner. So once again, going back to his book, if anyone had insight into where Maura was heading the night she disappeared, it was Kate Markopoulos, Maura's best friend at UMass. But ever since Maura went missing, Kate had kept mum. She was quoted only once in early newspaper accounts and gave no useful information. When asked about her best friend, she kept it vague. She took care of stuff on her own. That's Maura. She was never actively involved in the searches for her friend. After weeks of my trying to contact her, Kate finally called me one evening. Kate provided a lot of inconsequential details. She and Maura liked watching Bottle Rocket, a movie about a couple of friends who steal money and then go into hiding until they're caught by police. They often went shopping together. She said that Fred was a nice guy. You could tell he loved her to bits, she said. She loved him. She talked about him all the time. She knew that Maura and her dad would often go to the White Mountain area of New Hampshire together. They would go away for days sometimes. Maura was planning to move to Oklahoma to be with Billy, she said, but she wasn't thrilled about moving. It was the middle of nowhere. She was going to get a job at a hospital. She was going to move because she loved him. What did Kate remember about the Saturday that Fred came to visit, the weekend before Maura disappeared? In newspaper and television interviews, Fred had stated that he was in Amherst that weekend with $4,000 in cash to help Maura look for a car. But Kate said neither Fred nor Maura mentioned car shopping that night. Interesting. After they dropped Fred off at his hotel, she and Maura returned to Kennedy Hall to party it up in Sarah Alfieri's dorm room, she said. It was an even mix of men and women, pretty squished in there. I left around 2:30. One guy offered to walk me back to my place. Maura said she was going to bed. I didn't know she was getting back into the car. That was the last time I saw her. In hindsight, Kate wondered if Maura might have been stressed about nursing school. Maybe it got to be too much and she left just to get away for a while and then something else happened. The more I think about it, the more I realize I didn't really know her, she said. Kate claimed she didn't know about Maura's fling with Haas, even though Kate was sometimes the third wheel when the two got together outside practice. The more Kate talked, the more I got the feeling she was being deceptive. It was in her hesitant and measured answers, the careful wording. It felt to me that she was being overly cautious with her responses, and I did not understand why. Real quick, though, Kate is saying that that was the last time she saw Maura late Saturday night. But depending on who you believe, the interpretation of Billy's phone calls to Maura on Sunday and Monday, she might have been in Kate Markopoulos's dorm room when Billy called. And we went over all this before too, but she might be lying about that being the last time she saw Maura as well. We don't know. Back to the book, the detectives felt that way about Kate too. Some got very angry with her and her faulty memory. There were good cops and bad cops, she recalled. They kept saying, "What do you mean you don't know who else was at the party?" They couldn't understand why I couldn't remember. Neither could I. As Kate described it, Sarah's room was packed. A man who was there walked Kate back to her room, but afterwards she couldn't identify a single person other than Sarah. And when pressed for specific things that happened during the party in the hours that she was there with Maura, her memory goes blank again. She doesn't remember anything. It was hard to reach Kate for follow-up questions. She worked odd hours at a bar in Saratoga Springs. After I sent her an email asking her again about the other people who may have been at that party that night, she wrote, "I understand it would be helpful if I could remember names, but it is just not happening. It was long ago, and I barely knew those people, nor would I see some of them again." That last sentence is hinky. Nor would I see some of them again? Which of them did she see again? After this awkward conversation, I placed Kate at the top of my short list of possibilities for the tandem driver. Haas was on there too, and Fred for that matter. Nothing Kate told me made sense. So in the book, he also mentions he went to see a psychic in Ocean City, Maryland, and the psychic told him that Maura was not traveling alone. And this was when he hadn't told her anything about the case. This is what, quote from the book, "There is a lot of darkness here," she said. She was not traveling alone. Her car was left behind, and then she left with this other person. She wanted to be lost. You will not find her. She does not want to be found. Her life was sadness, bad luck. She wanted to escape this. Renner asked, "Where did she go?" Psychic responds, "I cannot see her. She is either dead or the darkness is hiding her." Jean's eyes opened. They stared back at me accusatory. "You went into her past." "Yes." "As far as her school years, didn't you?" "Yes." "Why it's so much sadness?" "You thought this would be an adventure, but her bad luck has rubbed off on you, hasn't it?" "Why did you welcome this darkness? I need to ask you, do you ever feel possessed?" Renner responds, "By work." She says, "Yes, you must leave this. Go as quickly as you can. Leave it behind before the darkness follows you home. This young woman you're trying to find, she was her own what? I don't want to say. She was her own what? She was her own disaster." What do you think of that psychic account, Maxwell?
Um, it was interesting. I don't remember a bit, but
And then, okay, Maxwell Army. All right, so back to Billy. So he said, okay, so it's people mapped it out. It's a 26-hour drive between Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and Haverhill, New Hampshire. So it's pretty much it's kind of rough. So he probably didn't drive. But when he was supposedly making all these phone calls, Bill says he was with Charlie Battery in the field helping with basic training out of cell phone range. And then Renner contacted both of the people that he said could verify this. None of them called him back to verify this. And then, of course, he's lying about being out of cell phone range because he made dozens of phone calls. So here's the thing. So in Bill's cell phone records, he's traveling Vermont and Maine and continuing to try to call Maura until the end of the billing cycle in late February. He also continued to call Kate Markopoulos, but the length of these calls are usually under a minute. So he might have never reached her and she never called him back. And then after Bill called Sarah Alfieri's number on February 19th, he never calls Kate Markopoulos again. So Billy's calling Kate and Sarah. What did Sarah tell him on February 19th? Very, very curious. And it was something he might have been hounding Kate Markopoulos information for. But again, if they really did something to Maura, would these calls continue? Unless he's wanted to make sure she stays quiet about it. I don't know. We don't know if Billy's the good guy or the bad guy. So staying up to date with what's going on with Billy, we have Bill Rausch returns to court. So this was July 19th. And once again, James Renner posted this on his blog July 19th. Bill Rausch appeared in D.C. Superior Court today for a hearing related to a charge of felony sex abuse. He stands accused of attempting to rape a coworker in the office of Ray Group International in 2011. Since the victim shared her story, other women have come forward alleging behavior from harassment to assault dating back to 2004. The year Maura Murray, Bill's girlfriend, went missing. Rausch arrived 10 minutes before 11 and sat quietly in the front row, eyes forward, until the judge returned to his bench. He was alone. No friends, no family, no co-workers in his corner. Rausch's lawyer argued that the prosecutor should allow Rausch to review grand jury statements. The government is concerned that if Rausch is given the chance to copy or download the documents, he may distribute them. Grand jury statements are secret for a good reason, to protect witnesses. And the prosecutors in this case should be concerned about this. Rausch loves to share information he digs up on people. He did opposition research on me, a journalist covering the disappearance of his girlfriend. In fact, I believe he passed such information to people who were harassing me at that time. Rausch was also suspended by Twitter for posting my personal phone number in an attempt to dox me while he was serving as head of a propaganda campaign for the U.S. Army. All very odd and alarming behavior. Are you following, Maxwell? So Renner is reporting that Bill Rausch was banned from Twitter or suspended on Twitter for posting Renner's phone number.
Damn, that's messed up.
Yeah. Later, the government said it would consider a plea deal, but that no deal had yet been offered. The judge said they should either work out a deal or prepare for trial before the next court date in early October. Adding to the drama of the day, I was served with a subpoena while having lunch around the corner from the courthouse. Rausch wants access to my interviews and notes and the names of the people who contact me about his sex assault and harassment. He will, of course, not be getting that info. More to come. So to expand on that, Renner actually posted this. He tweeted this: I was just served with a subpoena while having lunch in D.C. So that's the most Sorkin-esque thing that's ever happened to me. Bill Rausch wants the names of the people who told me about his sex assaults. Not going to happen. So he posted that 1 p.m. July 19th. What do you think about that?
That's crazy. I mean, I think Renner had the right to say that, but yeah, I don't know what does he want from. I don't get it.
Well, Billy
What's the
wants to know
how is that gonna benefit Billy?
because he wants to know what people said about him.
Yeah, I know, but
Wait, what are you?
doesn't he look forward ahead like that? It makes him look bad and shit.
Why? He wants the information to defend himself against.
I guess.
So
Yeah, I guess.
and here's something also pretty crazy. So On Thursday, July 11th, lawyers for Bill Rausch attempt to gain access to Maura Murray records. So Bill Rausch's lawyer attempted today to gain access to records related to the Maura Murray case at Kent State, where my notes and documents are stored after my books are published. They are after the names of sources. They were denied access and will continue to be denied. Rausch stands accused of sex abuse in DC and is due in court July 19th. Earlier this week, I spoke to another woman who claimed Bill has a dual personality, and there's a side to him that frightened her. I also learned that he left texts on Got Your Six computers that confirmed an affair with an IAVA employee, whom he was seen with at a hospital on Valentine's Day 2018 after she suffered a head injury. So a lot more info coming out here. So this would be the sixth woman. So what do you think of Bill Rausch's lawyer trying to get access to all of James Renner's information on the case? It seems like they're trying to get ahead of it, I guess, to either discredit or, if Bill is innocent, to kind of mount a proper defense. I don't know. You find any of this strange?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like they want the advantage of defending.
But obviously, it still looks bad because these are people who want to remain anonymous because they're not. If he's only being accused in this one scenario for this 2011 incident, the other incidents aren't quite relevant if he's not being tried for them, right? I mean, I don't know. But it seems like he's just trying to get as much info as possible. The lawyer's trying to get as much info as possible. But all of this does not look good for Billy. I mean, once again, he could be the good guy. All of this could be made up. Or he could have been the good guy in the case of Maura and then he snapped afterwards. But we don't know. We really don't know. Any final thoughts, Maxwell?
No, I'm good.
But we will continue to cover Bill Rausch as well as many other incidents and issues in the Maura Murray case. We'll also be going back to UMass and uncovering even more oddities on the following episodes. Once again, if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. Feel free to share it across social media platforms. Any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, theories, leave them in the comments section. And you can also check us out on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Patreon. And this is Bruce McGuire signing off.
And Maxwell Powers.
We'll catch you guys next time.